Good afternoon, everybody. Quite the intro to follow there. I'm Dan Cuscarella, Director of Broadcast Sales and Technology here at Camplex. Thank you for joining us today. We're here to talk about some exciting new news. It's the opticalCON DRAGONFLY hybrid connector system. That's from Neutrik. It's a really innovative solution that will spare engineers, system integrators, live production, tech crews, you name it, a lot of headaches associated with their fiber optic budget, loss, and where typically single mode fiber could be corrupted by some dirt or dust. The Dragonfly XB2 technology that's integrated into the connector vastly improves performance in less than ideal situations. Candidly, might be the easiest maintenance of any fiber connector out there. But before we get into it, I wanted to say thank you to our friends at Neutrik for joining us today, and also point out a couple things to keep in mind as we roll along. We have set 45 minutes aside to go over the talking points of Dragonfly systems and 15 minutes at the end for a Q&A. Please take note at the chat area at the bottom of your screen. We do welcome your questions. We'll do our best to answer them during the Q&A, but anything that's pertinent to the moment, we will, of course, discuss as we go along. Of course, any additional questions we don't get to, we'll follow up after today's webinar with answers direct to you. If you do experience any technical issues with the video or audio, please alert us in the chat section. Now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, let's get started. Camplex and Neutrik have been partners in fiber optic cabling and interface solutions for a very long time, in business together since 2013 and beyond. Camplex is a COCA, a certified opticalCON cable assembler. We're currently the only supplier in the US to offer complete support and assemblies for the new Dragonfly. And I'm proud to introduce today's host from Neutrik USA, the application manager, David Kuklinski. David has over 35 years experience in the broadcast and pro AV, covering areas of production, operations, system design. His experience is extensive, working on award-winning high definition and 4K system designs. David, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for everyone who took some time today to participate in our webinar. But we're really excited to tell you about Dragonfly, and Camplex has been a great partner. So I guess we'll get right into it. Let me go ahead and bring up our presentation here. As we said, we welcome everybody to the Dragonfly Hybrid Camera Solution Seminar today. Neutrik, revolutionized the broadcast and pro AV industry when they introduced opticalCON Advanced, ruggedizing the LC and MTP connector. And Dragonfly is just another revolutionary new product. You may ask the question, why a new camera connector? Well, we saw some changing technologies that we were able to take advantage of that will allow high performance, ease of cleaning that were not available up until recently. Also, we wanted a product that, a connector design that will allow us to take care of 4K technology today, but as data rates increase, we wanted a connector design that will allow us to increase with the potential of adding more than 2 fibers to it. We had some customer feedback on our opticalCON Advanced, so we wanted to improve our design, and we incorporated some of those comments into the new Dragonfly design. And then there was just some other markets that were asking for a hybrid, ruggedized camera cable solution. So let's look at it. If you're familiar with opticalCON Advanced, you'll notice that this is a really radically different cable connector design. First, it is a male and female system, where opticalCON Advanced was a male-male system. So what this allows the users to do is connect 2 ends of the cable together, obviously without couplers. That's something that is part of the design of opticalCON Advanced. You'll see a lot of other interesting changes that we'll dive into here. So let me get into the breakout of the camera cable side. This is the male side of the camera connector. First of all, we added a larger guiding nose at the front of the connector. So what that means to end users, as they're maybe in an awkward situation where the chassis connector is maybe at a awkward location or in the dark, and you're just kind of feeling how to plug that camera cable in, that massive guiding nose certainly helps significantly. We've also made a little larger orientation sign for ease of operation. We improved the push-pull mechanism of the Dragonfly connector. We also, though, incorporated the same color coding ring options. So this is the first one. It's on the lockable dirt protection cap. You have a variety of color rings that if you wanted to put on that, you can. We improved the ratch lock system, and this is a vast change from opticalCON Advanced. If you've ever had to take apart an opticalCON Advanced connector, it was a little challenging to get those rings easily off, but this is much easier to unscrew the connector. We've employed the lens Ferrule technology that we'll talk about, the XP2 module, and the copper contacts are now crimped. They are no longer soldered. The space in here is a little larger too for easier termination. The overall system in mated conditions has now gone to an IP68 rated connection. And again, as part of our anti-kink boot system that we've brought over from the Advanced series, we have our second color coding ring option back there. So overall, it's a much different and much more improved design than the Advanced series. And then the female side of the camera connector offers the same elements to it in terms of the IP68 rating, the lens Ferrule, and all the other improvements we made. As we look at the other part of the system, the chassis connector, this is the female chassis connector. What customers have asked for is really a system that's modular, easy to replace if something gets broken, and we've certainly have done that. First of all, with the dirt protection cap, we've added another color coding ring. So again, if you need to color code your connections or your cables, they're easy to do. Again, it's IP68 in the mated condition. We put a good size orientation sign on the chassis connector so it's easy to see where you need to plug it in. A big change from opticalCON Advanced is that this chassis connector is the same size as a limo style cutout. And the reason we did that is to allow camera manufacturers to easily put this in their cameras or camera control units. And if customers are increasing, say, patch panels or changing out patch panels or BSP panels, the Dragonfly chassis connector easily fits in that same space. We've improved the shielding, so we have more points of contact within that chassis connector for improved shielding. The patch cable that plugs in the back is really easy to replace with the XP2 patch cable system. Again, the copper contacts are crimped, and we're using the XP2 module, which is the unique Ferrule that we'll discuss here in detail. And the male chassis connector, again, very similar in design. It's got the massive guiding nose here. So again, it's really nice. Operators really like how it feels when they're plugging that into the chassis connector. It is a limo cutout as well. So looking at the XP2 patch cable, this is the patch cable that you plug in the back of the chassis connectors. You will notice that they are based upon an MPO dimension. So we're very familiar with MPO and MTP with our success with opticalCON Advanced MTP 12 and 24. We do employ the high precision lens Ferrule. So this is an expanded beam Ferrule, and we'll talk about the advantages of that. It's relatively small form factor, ruggedized, and they are push-pull, so they're easy to take on and off the back of the chassis connector. And we have some anti-kink boot, so if you need to bend the cable a little bit, the anti-kink boot will help support that. A note on the chassis connectors, the IP68 sealing kits are optional, and they're just washers that you would need to purchase to put on the chassis connectors. Basically, what that does is allow people that don't need that type of protection, say in BSP panels or on cameras or CCUs, they can leave that off and save some money. The copper contacts, again, they are crimp contacts. Most people will use the standard DMC tool that you see here. That's readily available, say on Amazon. But our crimping contacts, the crimp dies are unique to Dragonfly, so you'll just need to get a couple of those for your field crimp needs. opticalCON Dragonfly also, we have a mobile workstation. It's based upon Fusion Splice technology. It's an easy process to repair this in the field, although I have to say it does require a lot of skill. This is a SMPTE camera cable with copper contacts and the fiber contacts. So I don't recommend everyone run out and purchase this. It's an expensive system because it includes everything you need, the Fusion Splicer, et cetera, but it does allow customers to perhaps do some repairs in the field, or like a partner like Camplex and come and do field repairs easily. The cables that we use for Dragonfly are the same approved camera cables that we have for our opticalCON Duo SMPTE. So there's no special camera cables here that are needed. So companies like Ferrule, Northwire, OCC, Belden, those are already approved. The patch cables are high quality products from Huber and Sooner using Corning glass. If you want to start configuring a part number on an opticalCON Dragonfly system, you go to the website, go to our part number generator, and get some specifics in terms of length, and you can get a specification together, which Camplex can price up for you. Now let's look closely at the technology of Dragonfly, because this is really the differentiating factor between other fiber systems out on the market. If we look on the left, we're showing a physical contact style fiber here, single mode fiber. This orange dot here is the 9-micron piece of glass. 9 microns is smaller than a piece of human hair. So any dust particles that get on that, that green dot could stop the light from passing through. And so down here, what we're showing is a fiber connection with 2 physical contact connectors connecting together, and that's how they pass light. So if you have dust on one side, you're probably going to contaminate the other side, so you'll have to clean both sides. And if you have certain high contaminants on that, you might, because it's a physical contact, you risk scratching the ferrules on one or both sides. With the XP2 solution, you see that our surface area where we're passing light is substantially larger. It's 330 times more surface area than the physical contact 9 micron. And what happens there is there's lenses on the end of the ferrule, so they actually do not touch. They're very close, and they pass light back and forth with the 2 lenses. So you don't have the physical contact. You don't risk scratching the ferrules if there's contamination on either one. And the same amount of dust particles that may block light on your physical contact ferrule may not even be a factor in this larger surface area. So those are really some advantages there of the XP2 solution. Again, with the patch cables, you can fusion splice the back of the patch cable into your environment. They can come with LCs or STs. They're easy to terminate. They're consistent quality, 100% reliability, because we pre-polish all the XP2 ferrules, so there's nothing you need to do on that side. Looking at some of the performance on the optical side of Dragonfly, this new technology allows us now to get a lower insertion loss than what is typical in an expanded beam lens ferrule. typically, those insertion loss values are 1 to 1.5 dB. With Dragonfly, we're down to 0.6 dB per connection. So it allows us to have multiple connections and multiple patch points and still have a really good fiber budget. On the mechanical side, we have 900 newtons of pull force that allows us to have 200 pounds of pull force. I mean, I could literally plug a Dragonfly cable into a chassis connector and pull as hard as I can or swing from it, and it will not pull out. We have 10,000 mating cycles and guaranteed. And of course, with the sealing kits and in the mated condition, the entire Dragonfly system is IP68 rated. The electrical side, we've improved the power side of that, the rated voltage, all the way up now to 600 volts. So that should cover a wide variety of cameras. And most cameras now are going to DC voltage, so we're well within the requirements of future technologies. Another significant advantage of Dragonfly is how easy it is to clean. Really, all that's required for the most part is canned air. If you have heavy contamination, you may need to spray a little water droplets into the ferrule to loosen the contaminants, and then again use the canned air to remove those, or you could use a cleaning stick. So what that means is you do not need scopes to inspect if you've cleaned your ferrule or not. You don't need isopropyl alcohol or wipes. So really it's down to canned air, and you're not touching the surface of the ferrule, so you don't risk having it scratched. And if it's scratched, then the cables have to be sent back and repolished. So that is take them out of use. Looking at some ideal customers that we feel are ideal for this product. If we look at colleges and universities that may have a central control room and they're tying in a variety of stadiums and other facilities around campus, the advantage of deploying opticalCON Dragonfly for these type of customers, they may have a group of students that are running camera, etc. And if there is a contamination issue, it's easy for the student to disconnect, spray some canned air on the end of the connector, clean the connector, and then continue on with the production. So you don't have to risk having them improperly clean your fiber and scratch it, etc. The same thing for house of worship customers. Again, they use a lot of volunteer staff that may be running cameras and things. And again, if there's a contamination issue during the service, it's easy for them to clean the connector. And then also broadcast stations that may be deploying Dragonfly in camera patching areas or on studios. Again, same situation, easy to clean. If you're doing a lot of patching, doing a live show and you have a contamination issue, you'll be quicker to clean and get your camera connected with Dragonfly.
David, if I may, briefly,
Sure.
While you're on that last frame, we had a question in the chat I should just share. They were asking about the Dragonfly footprint, or it could be retrofitted with existing LEMO opticalCON systems. And as you noted earlier, LEMO has established a footprint for the 304, 311 SMPTE workflow, and the Dragonfly will swap right into that frame. You could literally pull out your LEMO, Canary, or similar SMPTE connectors and drop in a Dragonfly connector. Or if you had an 8-point patch bay with 2 unpopulated, drop 2 Dragonfly right next to your LEMO. And additionally, we have those adapters and cables at the ready, so we can even adapt your existing LEMO to Dragonfly should you have a camera that's in a rougher environment, and the expanded beam would help.
Absolutely, that's a big that's a great point and a great feature of Dragonfly. So again, just to summarize the benefits, it's the best lens fiber performance on the market with the 0.6 dB insertion loss. That's far superior than any other expanded beam technology on the market. It's really dust insensitive. You have that substantially larger, 322 times larger surface area of the ferrule. So a small amount of dust that may block the light being passed on a physical contact connector typically is not an issue with Dragonfly. With fusion splicing technology, the XP2 modules already come ready to go, pre-polished, and all you have to do is either connect them with the LC or ST that's on the other end, or fusion splice them into your existing fiber. The anti-kink boot of Dragonfly, again, is the same one we use on opticalCON Advanced, and it's far superior than some of the other competitors on the marketplace. Quicker to repair the system. So if you have a issue with the chassis connectors, you can either, you repair the items that are broken. So it could be the chassis connector itself, it could be the patch cable, it could be the copper connector. So it's modular and easy to repair. So your cost and time savings to repair will be much quicker. Again, low maintenance interval. You save the cost of having expensive scopes and wipes and isopropyl alcohol to clean the connector. Really just canned air is all you need. So your cost of ownership over time is improved with opticalCON Dragonfly. And again, the chassis connectors, easy to repair with the plug-in breakout cables. So at this point, what I'm going to do is bring up another presentation, and I'll actually show how easy it is to clean the Dragonfly connector with this video. So let me just bring it down here, bring it up, and we'll play it.
David, I think we're missing audio on this one.
Oh, we're missing audio.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's all right. So it's a good chance to mention and go back through the question Lamont had, which was regarding the loss of the Dragonfly while you're getting set up there. Expanded beam typically had greater loss than what the XP2 Dragonfly system allows to offer market. A lot of broadcasters have gone through some expanded beam prior and not had great results when multiple patches needed to occur, and this all but removes that concern, allowing you to have more patching or the less loss between a connector and a chassis, or connector to connector. Insertion return loss allows you to have more connections as a whole. And because the light interferes less as well, that gives you a great opportunity. So just to harp on that question a little bit, there is it's certainly an important part. And Lamont also mentions typically canned air causes contamination. Has that been a problem? And I'll let you speak to that, but my understanding would be that because of the air gap in there, unlike typical problems that dirt or dust could have flying around, the canned air loosens and removes that or pushes that air, the dirt out of the connector itself, correct?
That is correct. Yep. We haven't experienced any issues with that at all. So, we do have some space there that does prevent any contamination particles from getting on there. So,
yeah. And then Dan McCabe asked about camera manufacturers moving towards Dragonfly and their equipment currently. Now, I know you announced some, I think it was at IBC, and a couple other in the wings with peripheral products like camera back systems. Can we just speak on that quickly before we get in?
Yep. At IBC last year, we had Sony and Grass Valley cameras in our booth with the Dragonfly connector on their cameras and their CCUs. Multidyne has approved Dragonfly for their silverback adapter, and we've worked with other manufacturers such as Panasonic, Ikegami, and Hitachi, and they have tested and qualified the Dragonfly camera connector for the camera bodies.
Cool. Thank you for covering that, and I'll pass back over to you here.
Yep, Dan, I've got the ability here to bring that video up, and I apologize, I forgot to click one little button when we shared it, so I'll share it again, and we'll show you just how easy it is to.
All right, we're going to show you right now how easy it is to clean the Dragonfly camera connector. For demonstration purposes, we have a media player that's playing this video clip. The HDMI is being converted to fiber. going through the XB2 module. This is the heart of the Dragonfly system. These XB2 modules are not only in the camera connector, but also are what you plug into the back of the chassis connector. And then the output is, again, fiber into LCs going back into a decoder that feeds the monitor. So that's our signal chain here. And what I'll do is unplug this, and I'll contaminate it pretty significantly with some dust particles that we have here. If we were to plug this back in, the signal would not pass through. It's pretty caked in there with the dust particles. All I need to do is take some canned air, blow that out, plug that back in. If there is a lot of contamination, you may need to just spray a little water in there to loosen the particles. Again, you blow them out. Again, not using a cleaning swab, etc., will not scratch the face of the ferrule. So that's so easy to clean the Dragonfly camera connector. And again, you can see our signal is back up and running.
All right, so that there again is just a good demonstration for you in terms of how easy it is to clean. You can see that, sorry here, just trying to get back to our slides.
You're good, David.
Yeah, at this time we can open up to any other questions that we have.
Yeah, I saw Ishan had a question in there that I can't speak to directly. I'm sure we could get him some information. Are there any case studies available on actual applications? And I know Neutrik works with a lot of things behind the scenes. I know you and I are working on a couple projects that are in the field right now that we can't really speak upon. But is there anything documented that we can share through email direct to Ishan or otherwise?
Yes, actually, if you look at the Neutrik website, you will see a case study that we did where we were covering some downhill skiing in Switzerland. So we wanted to test, how the system performed in very cold environments. So you could read about that on the website. And as Dan said, we've got a couple of projects that are out there right now that they're not finished, so we can't really speak to them publicly, but there are some interesting applications using Dragonfly.
Cool. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. I don't know if we have any other questions for the attendees. I can speak to Camplex in a moment. We are currently doing these in Furukawa and the Belden Mohawk 96040 cables. That is our standard for SMPTE. Both with different applications are available from us, as well as OCC and other camera cable manufacturers. So we are doing those. We are working to develop adapter cables. We already have them in our system and available from LEMO to Dragonfly, or Canary to Dragonfly, the existing opticalCON to Dragonfly, breakouts, throwdown boxes, you name it. We've got a good amount going on there. Dave, I don't know if you can see, do you have the Q&A up? Ishan's asking, provision to isolate the chassis body from a mounting panel. As you know, some LEMO assemblies, we do some split flanges that are a hybrid material that is non-conductive. I don't know if that's required for this. And Ishan, I can speak, yes, Camplex does have the kit, and we are making assemblies here in Saugerties, New York. So it fits right in with our fiber lab. We have full-time staff working. We've been lucky enough to work through the whole COVID problem, remaining fully employed, 100% staffed. And we're proud as an employee-owned company that we can build these in the States. We're the only certified Dragonfly assembler in the US, as well as the only that does Dragonfly, certified for Dragonfly, certified for LEMO, certified for Canary, and certified for opticalCON. So we do offer the opportunity to work with our partners on any of those in any mix. And so those are built here in the US, and we do have inventory. We've been stocked up for a little while. We've been waiting for this opportunity. So anything people need would come quickly. But there's two other questions I can't speak to, if you can speak to them real quick.
Let me pull them up.
So
cost comparison between Dragonfly and the old standard opticalCON. It's in line with opticalCON Duo SMPTE. And in line with SIPTI fibers, from Limo and others. Again, the big difference is the total cost of ownership will be of huge benefit as you go down the road, where you're just buying cans of canned air versus having a scope that may cost several $1,000s and other cleaning supplies. Cost of the workstation is, I don't remember what the MSRP is on that. Dan, do you know off the top of your?
You're saying workstation, that's the fusion station?
Yes, the fusion splice station.
I don't, it's, I don't have that in front of me accessible. I do apologize.
We'll
I'll
have to
follow
get
up
back.
with you. Yeah, I can follow up with you afterwards. As well as a cost comparison, Dragonfly and standard OpticalCON SIPTI. It is a little more expensive, but as noted, total cost of ownership will be lower. Maintenance will be lower. Troubleshooting should be lower. So we're pretty confident that, though, for the small price increase, although there is a price increase, it's going to be worthwhile. In a stadium build out, it's going to be a minimal amount overall. And it's just economies of scale in our production as well. Obviously, it gets a little larger. We'll be able to tighten our belt and offer better pricing to the street.
Yeah, and I think also you have to take in consideration that you're going to be able to get back on air with your connection quicker from a cleaning perspective. So there's a value in that as well. So so that's something else to consider. See if there's any other questions. On the locking force, what is the breakaway force? Again, we have basically what's equivalent to 200 pounds of pull force on that. So that's exactly what is on the OpticalCON Advanced series. Can water damage the air coating on the lenses? It cannot, no. And again, in the mated condition with the sealing kits, you're IP68, so water should not get in there. So again, you're really using a little bit of water on the ferrules if there's like really significant contamination. Perhaps you drug it across the field and got some grass particles in there, or it was a little moist and they stuck. So it isn't. We aren't recommending that you use a significant amount of water in there. For the most part, it's just to loosen up the materials to use the air to blow them out. If the insert and the chassis connector is damaged, it is replaceable. Absolutely. Yep. Every part of the chassis connector is individually replaceable. So you either replace the actual chassis connector itself or the patch cable that plugs into it. Yep. Or you may have a damage on the dust the dust cap. I mean, all that is their individual parts that you can order.
Let's see. Can the lens be damaged? Yeah, I see that similar question.
Yep. Yeah. So Ishad, I mean, the water will not damage the coating on the lenses. So will it be possible to further improve on optical performance? That's a good question. I would imagine that the company that makes the ferrules is constantly looking at at improving that performance. But at this point, the 0.6 dB is what we have is the best.
Yeah, which does, as 0.45 was the initial standard of Limo, or 0.55 in some circumstances. So I think we're well within that tolerance. Certainly in a system where they're patching 12 systems together, or cables, chassis, cable, chassis, may have to go down to 10, but through savvy design, and I don't think there'll be too much struggle to make that work, even in your stadium environments. And obviously using Corning glass and good glass, you have less loss over the distance of the cable. I don't foresee this being a difference in the designs. I do a lot of stadium, studio, house of worship, consult designs, and I don't see this encroaching any of the fiber budgets. And certainly because of the dirt that can be on the end of a connector, you have the pristine connector loss of a SIPTI. But I can tell you there's a lot of contaminants, oil, grease, dirt, you name it. And the majority of our in-house repairs are because of contaminants. I often relate that to like your bakeware in the oven. You know, you cook your chicken in the oven, you bake it, you pull out that glass cookware. You're really scrubbing that thing clean because the contaminants or the grease and oils are baked onto that glass. The same thing occurs with SMPTE and fiber. Naturally, the lenses of the XB2 system will make that less of a problem. It would take a lot more dirt to block light. So do have a new question here. Are there certification courses available for field techs? Not through Camplex. I do believe Neutrik has its certification programs, both for opticalCON and I would assume similarly for Dragonfly, right?
We'll be working on something in the future. What we're really concentrating for field techs is we're making it easy on the installation in the field of the XB2 module into the chassis connector. So that if you already have Fusion Splice technology, you know, you can use that. But in terms of actually working on the camera cables connector side, we haven't instituted that yet, but that's something in the future we will be doing.
Certainly our goal, Camplex, here is to make it so simple and cost effective and reliable from us, in stock and ready. You don't have to spend the time doing it, but we're going to support what we need to support to grow this industry. I think there's a big future in this. And, you know, LEMO connector or that standard SMPTE 304, 311 has been around for quite some time. You know, minor changes, but only in parts, not in function or form, really. So I think it's long overdue in some form to have an upgraded connector. And different applications will choose different connectors, of course, but I think there's a strong place for this.
I'll have to say, as easy as we've made it, it's still, if you don't have a lot of skill terminating a SMPTE camera connector, you're going to struggle with this as well, because the copper wires, that's a significant amount of skill that's required to properly get those set up for the actual termination of the entire connector. So, you know, if you're just buying a handful of cables, we're definitely not going to suggest you buy the field workstation. It's just, you're going to be very frustrated with your ability to put together or repair the cables with the field workstation. It's just a skill that you really need to have. So we recommend that you just, you know, purchase an extra cable if you need to, and then send anything that's damaged back to folks like Camplex to repair it.
Yeah, and I can tell you too, because it's a mated pair, should you damage or have a bad fusion or bad splice or cleave on one of them after having the first work, it's a complete rework of the connector because of the tolerance and the distance inside of that body of the connector. So we do have another question from Ishan, which we welcome. Thank you for attending. It's good to have you engaged. It's does Neutrik plan to offer the expanded beam technology in other configurations other than broadcast TV camera applications? So I think that limits talking about the 304, 311, meaning like similar to the Duo and Quad, you have your similar Neutrik form factor. Does Neutrik intend in expanding that outside of the SMPTE, I guess, connector, you know, your medical, your mining, your live events that don't require SMPTE?
Yeah, so we are looking at that. Obviously, this is a single mode Ferrule. We are looking at solutions for multi-mode. And you know, as various markets come up, we will we'll certainly consider adding expanded beam technology. But for the most part, right now, Dragonfly is our first entree into the lens Ferrule marketplace.
Excellent. And another good one, Rose, welcome. Does this mean all the requirements of the SMPTE 304, 311 specifications? Rose, by the way, congratulations to your nomination and approval to be on the SMPTE board. We welcome your question. Good to hear from you. So David, I'll let you speak to that as well.
We obviously don't mate directly with a LEMO or Canary SMPTE camera connector. So from that perspective, we don't meet all the specification. And there is one minor mechanical element that also we do not meet. So it is kind of a standalone system in regards to the SMPTE specification. But in terms of the same amount of copper contacts and fiber lines and The cutout size, we are exactly the same. Plus, the beauty of the XP2 module is it allows us, if technologies come down the line with cameras that have sensors that require more than 2 fibers, we can easily develop a solution where we can increase the amount of fiber lines in the Dragonfly connector. And customers won't really have to throw a lot of what they already have away. The shell, the chassis connector can be reused because you would just plug in a new patch cable with more fiber and a camera cable with more fiber in the front. So,
yeah. Also, so if I'm correct too, Neutrik has upgraded and is 600 VAC compatible. Where prior
yes.
the opticalCON SMPTE had minor but some limitations. It now does meet these specifications of 304, 311 assemblies, although form-wise, the reason it's not meeting the requirements is they won't mate together, meaning you can't take your LEMO or Canary SMPTE and plug them into the Dragonfly, but the electrical and the properties, the requirements of that is there, correct?
That's correct. Yep. I mean, so you know, the LEMO is a physical contact ferrule, and we're an expanded beam ferrule. They will not, if you put the two together, they will not pass light, so to speak. So obviously, everything else that we meet the requirements of.
Cool. We have some strong attendees today. It's good to hear from them. Let's see. I don't know if we have any other questions. We do have a little bit of time allotted. I know that we've got about 15 minutes. We're not looking to eat it all up or take your time, but we want to make sure we cover any questions. No matter how simple or how detailed, definitely let us know here in chat or Q&A, and we will address them. I don't know your experience level over there, so if there's anything that goes beyond expanded beam and general fiber discussions, we're happy. Yes, Ishwan, there are adapters between LEMO and SMPTE. We have our high DAP and high mod modules as well as cable ends. So we've already developed quite a few of those. As you may recall from your experience in your LEMO and Joseph's days and more, it's quite a bit of part numbers when you're working for plug socket, which is really what these cables are, right? Male, female isn't really quite correct for LEMO, but we have our needs to adapt to both from anything. So there's quite a good amount of SKUs when you consider all the lengths, the cable variants, and the form factors. But we will have chassis mount adapters. We'll have chassis mount breakouts. We will have cable end adapter cables. We will have cable end breakouts. We will have throwdown box adapters, similar to our high DAP series, HYDAP, which currently we might adapt LEMO SMPTE to opticalCON SMPTE. We're going to be offering the same. So there's literally, because of all the different lengths and connector types, LC, ST, SC breakouts, FUW, PUW, opticalCON SMPTE with or without power, with Molex power, with your reverse gender powers. There's hundreds, if not thousands of part numbers. But the core part numbers is going to be about 40 different ones that'll get you all your different form factors of adapters in different lengths with different connectors. So yes, you could integrate or adapt any system. If somebody is in a very dirty environment and they want to go from their existing wall box for LEMO to a camera that's in a rough place, maybe it's a rodeo or a monster truck rally, you can go right to your expanded beam on the camera side and have a easy maintenance, or swap out the chassis mount. If the breakout box has a breakout cable, we can ship you a breakout cable and then a Dragonfly cable, and you're rocking and rolling. So it'll be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's the beauty of fiber. There's a lot of options. So we can get from one connector to another one pretty easily. And a group like Camplex does a fantastic job of putting together exactly all the pieces that you need for your system.
Yeah, bingo. So I think that probably covers it here. In closing, I definitely want to thank you, David, and the Neutrik team for supporting us and giving us this opportunity. We're excited to be a member of your COCA team and now expanded beam as well. There's a big future for us. If anybody needs us, you can reach me at sales@camplex.com or Daniel@towerpower.com, many aliases. And I know David's here for your support. If there's any opportunities in the field to get you a case study, of course, we're going to support that as best we can. If you need any drawing supports, we do Visio drawing workflows. We can help you redraw your existing system, or if you don't know how to efficiently create a patch bay for your 4 CCUs and 10 cameras, we'll design that out for you, make it simple and easy, including a parts list. So any questions you have, big or small, bring it to us, sales@camplex.com. David, if you have anything to add before we wrap up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for everyone for attending. And if there's any specific questions you have for me, you can reach me at david@neutricusa.com.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
All right, thank you.